Hey guys, James Wilson-Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's another of our video calls, catching up with everybody while we're all stuck at home at the minute, but I'm delighted to say from Trivium, Matt's on the line. How are you, man?
Very good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, that's how we kind of started all these off, just making sure. I hope you have been keeping us safe and well in this very strange time we find ourselves in. How's your lockdown been going for you so far?
Thankfully, about 3 years ago, I started live streaming. So what I had ready, I had the infrastructure ready to go for everyone that needed it. And I've just looked at my channel. I've told people whether they need it to be their pub or their restaurant or their brunch or their coffee shop or their therapist's office or their gym, whatever it may need to be, that's what it is at that time. And I've kept it going strong 5 days, basically as of that 3 year point, 5 days a week off tour every single week and 7 days a week while I'm on tour, about 4 to 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. And then on tour, it could be anything, including every single show as well. We've streamed every show as of the last 3 years ago on my Twitch channel. So
Yeah.
I have been ready for this. And I think that it's been great that I've been keeping kids off the street and providing a good message. You know, people can see in the live stream show that we just did, you see at all the pre-pros, we're all wearing masks, all our crew is as well. And just about promoting proper precautions so we can get life back to normal as quickly as possible.
Yeah, very wise words there. Very wise words. It's funny you say that. Yeah, it is. You're in a kind of unique position where you were already set up with the idea of being able to do this kind of content remotely and be able to actually communicate with fans. But as you alluded to there, I guess the slight change is while there's always been a community of fans there, you really are treating it as more and more of a hub. And like, no, let's build a routine for ourselves while we don't have one. How's that change manifested? Have you noticed that change in the audience?
Thankfully, it's only grown, and it's only grown in numbers. It's only grown in strength and community and people. A lot of people are curious when I jumped over to Twitch. They're like, Matt, is it because you're streaming on Twitch all of a sudden everyone that was watching game streamers is watching you now? And that's not what the case is. The case is I went over to this kind of uncharted territory, streaming games at first, befriending two people from Twitch at the time. One is retired from there now, one is still there. And they kind of explained to me that they felt it was a good idea if I show people what it takes to stay, quote, in shape to go on tour and to do records. Because everyone had always known that since blowing my voice out, I'd been practicing 1 to 3 to 4 hours a day to really keep those chops up. And my friend Brandon, when I was telling him how much I do, I was like, no one wants to watch me do that, do they? He's like, you should try it. I guarantee you they do. And it's snowballed since then. So the general audience that's there, since I started streaming on Twitch, it was me teaching Trivium fans what it is and then migrating over. So every band guy I've since taught, so I've helped out a lot of band guys who've been curious about what it takes, what kind of gear they need. And I always tell them, bring your fans over. That's what it's all about. It's if you want to play games on there too, because it is a gaming platform first, you absolutely should. But if you're trying to grow your channel first, trying to further grow the community that your band has already fostered, bring your people over. And that's what I've been doing. And now that people are home, they're finally like, all right, I'm going to check out this thing that Matt's been talking about for 2.5 years. And that's why the channel has grown once again. And I do look at it as a responsibility. And that's one of the main reasons why I keep the channel going, is because I know it's what people count on. There is a very specific schedule, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern every single weekday, and it's been that for the last 3 years. And then the tour schedule, it's always a little different, but the content's the same. Every sound check, every warm-up, every show, and then full days off of me gaming. So I know that, just like old school TV, I made a joke the other day, like when people used to try to tune into something on time, like, all right, I got to catch my favorite show, it's on at this time. That's what I think of my channel as. That's also the reason why we did our record the way we did. We didn't push it. We were told that we will lose CD sales, physical sales, we'll lose, magazine covers, et cetera, et cetera. We said we didn't mind. We just wanted to get our record out for our fans and give them that disconnection or connection, give them whatever they needed our record to be. Same thing with the show. And the difference with the show, obviously the show was paid for. And the reason why we did that was the expenses were quite astronomical. But you can see that, and we saw that not a single one of our fans complained. They absolutely loved it, and their ticket sales helped fund all the stuff that we build. We hired Muse's staging director to build our stage. We flew her down. She did all the lights. She programmed all the videos. We spared no expense whatsoever for this. And any profits generated from that show are now going to help us buy a decommissioned airplane hangar that's going to become Trivium HQ that we're going to stream every single band practice from for free.
I had not realized that little detail at the end. That's an incredibly cool idea, man. You
Yep.
guys are all set. That's very, very smart move right there. It's funny you mentioned as well, talking about the show, and congratulations on that, by the way, because
Thank you.
it's funny. I was having a similar conversation with, we just did one of these with Aaron from Under Oath, and of course they're in the middle of their observatory stuff they're doing at the minute. And again, I'll say to you what I said to him. It's really nice to see at this point, when everyone's tried all these different types of live stream shows, people really trying to make it a proper event, or as close as they can to, like you say, kind of appointment viewing in that way. I guess my big question there is then, what were those challenges building something that, as you say, is very ambitious and taking as many people, I would imagine, as a kind of regular Trivium show?
Yeah, because we've been doing the live streaming show thing for so long now. Like I said, on my channel, every single show since I started streaming on Twitch has been for free off my channel. We even mixed a specific mix for Twitch that runs directly into the HD camera, and those are all free. My daily practice is free. We have been seeing more and more bands doing the live stuff, and some have been great, and some have been the quality of this call that we're doing right now. And that's fine for free. That is not acceptable, in my opinion. Even me, as removed as Matt from Trivium, me as removed as Matt as a streamer, just me as a human and a fan of music, this level of quality is not okay to be charged for. So our thing was, how do we step it up even further than from the things we do? Because we had a side stage view from download with a direct audio feed. Like, how do we top that? So then we said we need to rethink of what a show is, and thankfully, due to that infrastructure that I'd already built on my channel and that we had built together as a band, because my band has been incredibly supportive of it, we said, let's build something from the ground up, the entire idea of it being a streamed show. Obviously there's no PA there, so our sound guy, who'd already been used to streaming, already been mixing for Twitch, mixing for AirPods and iPhone speakers and computer speakers and reference monitors, that's a whole different ball game to know that you're mixing for that, you're not mixing for a crowd anymore. And I found it incredibly flattering. One of my very close friends, sorry, it's about to rain. If it gets loud, let me know. One of my very close friends was like, Matt, I didn't know if it was CD audio or not until you had the drum issues. Wow. I was like, dude, that's such a compliment, because for us, the other thing was, it's incredibly risky and incredibly scary to do a live show in the moment, have no delay whatsoever. It's not pre-recorded. There's no tracks. It's just you going for it. So that's another very scary thing that I can understand a lot of bands like, well, what if something goes wrong? But thankfully, we're very used to that. Like, we've even had weird technical stuff happen. Welcome to Florida, by the way. We've even had very technical stuff happen on massive shows, and we didn't want that to happen. We didn't plan for it to happen, but I had a lot of people tell me that was like the turning point of the show. They're like, you guys were perfect. And then once that moment happened, it's like, it felt like a human Trivium show again. So it's being comfortable, and it's like having been in this live streaming world for this long, it does require practice. It does require effort. It's not the same as live, and it's not the same as you just in your bedroom. So it's knowing what the landscape is from living in it. And I thankfully, my band and I have been living in it. Alex streams on Twitch now. He's been streaming for about maybe a year and a half now, and Paulo just started recently, and he's been streaming for a couple of months. I keep trying to tell Corey to start it, but I don't think he wants to. But we'll keep the band stuff going. And as long as the world is in this place like it is, and if places like my home state keep refusing to do things correctly, and if we're stuck up like this, luckily, I still have my home set up. We've got our band set up going. We obviously don't like to rest, and we like to keep things at the top quality possible.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the quality note there, because it does feel like, for want of a better phrase, people get their value for money on your live stream show there. It was a very, very impressive setup, and I guess it does beg the question now that it seems like it had a really positive reaction from those fans and the people that paid for it. I mean, the fact that you had a support slot in there as well, it's a proper night out at home, which I really liked about it. But it does beg the question. I take it, aside from rehearsals, aside from all this stuff, do you think a big event like that again is going to be in the calendar? Are you thinking about how to do another one of these kind of site-specific big event type things like that?
I mean, absolutely. And what's, my 5-year goal with our hangar, because like the hangar we're getting is huge. Right. And the first step, we'll build in and then close in a section of it where we're able to rehearse in there, and it's like all in one spot. And then we'll gradually build downwards, build a recording studio below that, and then we'll build outwards. And I imagine it would take 3 to 5 years of building that most outward section of the hangar where the airplane would fit. We'd make it look like that Full Sail show. So we'd eventually have it fully equipped, and then hopefully things keep progressing, even despite whatever the fates might be throwing at us that we can turn into, where there's full camera setup, there's full soundboard, everything is ready to go. So if we want to do the full event, we can do the full event from there and it's ready to go. But luckily our partners at Full Sail, we're, knowing Trivium, we don't ever like to rest. And we always like to look at how can we top what we just did. With our relationship with the UK knows better than anybody. We like to do the opposites of what we've done, and we like to also do the opposites of what we see as being done. When we did Ascendancy, it was incredibly successful and incredible. What's the exact opposite? Let's make a record that's the exact opposite of it. Crusade. When we did In Waves, what's the opposite of a live DVD? Let's do a DVD with no crowd. So that's something we're familiar with doing with the Chapman live thing we did. And now that we did this, we have to figure out what's sort of very different from what we just did, but still incredible. Luckily, we own all the stage pieces now, and they can be converted and they can be moved around. So yeah, it's always thinking more, and we reveal little bits when we feel like we should, and keep things quiet and drop things big when it's time.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear. Exciting to hear the plans about this whole HQ setup as well, because forgive the basicness of the question, but just from a basic standpoint, how do you go about buying an aircraft hangar, man? Like, on a practical level, how does that kind of thing work? Who do you approach to do this kind of
stuff? Oh man, that's a great question. I mean, we've been renting at a pretty sketchy place, and most bands I think are in kind of the position that we are, that you rehearse somewhere that you don't love. It's kind of crappy. You're paying rent to someone else, and we're like, just thinking to ourselves, like, we don't want to be paying rent. We don't want to be paying rent. We want to be investing in ourselves and our future. And we've always wanted a headquarters where we could do everything. And we've talked about the idea of a place where we can rehearse and also store, but eventually make records in. And then when we started seeing how much we love live streaming, places that we can stream every single thing from. We could stream our tour rehearsals or do special little sets there that are still free on our channels. And I contacted our real estate agent who helped us, my wife and I, get our house way back, who just helped Paulo move. Paulo actually lives 9 minutes away from me now, which is amazing. He just left Chicago during a pandemic, which he got in a car and he's like, I'm out of here. I'm moving by you guys. So we contacted her, and we were looking at commercial real estate. I saw a bunch of different places. I'm not saying like now is the time to buy, but I kind of figured now might be an okay time to look. And we're very, very smart with our money. We're not a loaded band by any means. I obviously am not living in a mansion. I mean, there's my roof right there. My stream room's kind of small. We have just what we need. We love just needing what we need, or having what we need, excuse me. And the same idea was for the practice thing. So we're like, let's find something that is exactly what we need, exact size, exact shape, somewhere where we can do exactly what we want to do. And so she kind of led me to this one agent who I found a bunch of places, and I talked about the idea of an airplane hangar, because I saw one hangar at a different airport. I mentioned that to my mother-in-law just in passing, and she's like, who owns one of those? Ashley's uncle. So I contacted Ashley's uncle and his son, and I've been dealing with his son now. They happen to own multiple of these extra hangars, so it was buying from our family, which is even better. So I was able to buy. We're setting up with one of our family members, and the process is kind of going through. We're very close now. It's not complete. It's not the size of a commercial plane. It's not the Iron Maiden size hangar like that. It's more modest than that, but it's good that we're able to keep it all in the family. We're like actually be able to support our family, so Trivium can buy from them. They're acting as the agents, and we can work from there. But it's just the idea of always moving forward, always being constructive, never allowing anything to slow us down. I mean, even though this is happening, we're still talking about what's next for Trivium. If we can't tour for this year, let's not just sit here being angry that we can't tour. Let's keep being progressive. Let's keep doing what we could do. Let's keep bringing our fans happiness every single day with our streams or whatever we may be doing. But also, let's work on what the next step is, and trying to keep that as wrapped in secrecy as I can.
Yeah, I don't want to push you too much on that. We don't want to spoil any surprises, but I have seen, of course, a couple of quotes here and there. It would appear that new music is already being worked on while you have the time to do it, I suppose, which is interesting given that you've, of course, only just dropped the latest record. I mean, you've really kind of hit the ground running. Is that how it normally works for you? Do you normally just always keep churning it out in that way?
Yeah, I mean, when Sin and the Sentence came out, we actually started writing the material that became What the Dead Men Say. We just didn't tell anybody about it. And this time, I think we're just, because 3 of us stream now, and we were very excited about the live stream too. We've let it we've let it be known that we're being constructive. In the meantime, I also just finished all the vocals to my now 10-year running black metal project with Ishan from Emperor. Everything is tracked. Alex is actually tracking drums tonight to that. I'm having him play drums on it, having Paulo play bass solo, and having Corey play guitar solo. So it's basically Trivium's on the record. My Jared Dines and I's EP should be coming out soon on Roadrunner Records. My Witcher single just came out on Roadrunner Records. So no rest. I don't like to rest. I like to stay busy.
Yeah, not a bad thing, man. Not a bad thing in this time in particular. Keep it busy. Why not? And to circle back a little bit onto what the Dead Men say, huge reaction from fans. And it is an interesting time, obviously, to put out a record. And like you say, you didn't want to slow down with it. And I appreciate that. I know all bands are in so many weird different situations with what can be done with record releases at the minute and everything. But I think it's a very, very cool thing to be able to put that out for your fans at such a strange time like this. Playing some of those songs for the first time the other night, how was that experience for you? That's got to be almost daunting on a stage like that to be doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I am always nervous too. I know my singing is dialed in. I know my rhythm guitar playing is dialed in. I know my lead playing is dialed in. So yeah, leading up to the stream, even though I practice screaming every single day on the stream, I'm like, all right, I got to make sure I can scream through this 2-hour set because it's live and there's no redos. I can't stop and start over. This thing has to sound amazing. People are going to be incredibly scrutinous and look at everything we do under a microscope. So when I started training with Ron Anderson in 2014, I experimented. I took notes myself of, this might get kind of boring for non-singers, but this shows how my brain works. Experimenting with warm-up time versus cool down time into show time. So I experimented with everything from 5-minute warm-ups to 2-hour warm-ups, everything from 0 minutes in between to 10 hours in between of a show that could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours. So my warm-up is kind of long. Like it's generally about an hour. And for streaming, I was doing anywhere from, for streaming, I was doing about 5 to 8 hours. I'd warm up here, quote, cool down of me just living, doing normal stuff, not being quiet or anything, and then the actual performance. And I was testing out and seeing what the differences of the singing and the screaming was. And what I found out the day 2 of pre-pro, the night before the actual live stream, I decided to completely change up what I've been doing. Tour, I've been doing 5 hours. 5 hours for the show, I'd warm up, 5-hour chill time or 4-hour chill time, then the show. And the longer the in-between time, the cleaner, the easier it was to sing. The shorter between the chill time, the screaming was much more intense, but the singing was harder to do. So I decided to change it up from the 5 to 8 hours that I've been doing for years, and do 2 hours before. And that 2 hours before, for some reason, my screaming was perfect, and it sounded brutal enough for the thing. So that shows like I really was thinking about this a lot, and I was testing it out every single day. But it was up until the night before. I was like, all right, I know this screaming has to be on par. So I was very worried that now I'm going to sacrifice the singing, but thankfully it worked out. I don't know if that was really boring or really exhausting to hear, but that's how my brain works.
I think that's really, really interesting. And I have a follow-up on it because I find that interesting. Like, what kind of vocal warm-ups do you actually got? Because I know, like, you always see a lot of frontmen, you talk about particular sets of warm-ups and particular schools of thought and all that kind of thing. Do you have a vocal coach you work with?
I do. When I blew my voice out, I started working with Ron Anderson. I was connected to him from Matt from Avenged Sevenfold, but Ron has taught everyone from Chris Cornell to Axl Rose to Kelly Clarkson. He was taught by Freddie Mercury's teacher. And when I blew my voice out, I thought I was done. But what we determined that I'd been singing and screaming incorrectly for my entire career. So I had to unlearn everything and rebuild everything. And that's why I practice so damn much. That's why I warm up so much. Every singer's teacher is going to have a drastically different opinion. Some singing teachers who might be experts, who have incredible students, might hear about my warm-up and go, that's ridiculous. You don't need to warm up that much, or that's too short. Every single singing teacher basically acts like their thing is the law. So what's important is to try a bunch of different methods and see what works for you. My method might not work for everybody. I've heard Bruce Dickinson, never really formally trained, didn't have to warm up. Howard Jones doesn't really have to do that. Ronnie James Dio didn't really have to do that. Rob Halford didn't really have to do that. They're all incredible. Guys like me and Matt from Avenged, we need to warm up a lot. His warm up, I think he does like 3 hours before a set. Like I said, I did the massive experimentation, but now I'm going to do the 2 hours before a set on tour. 2 hours before, leaving 30 minutes before the show, to keep the screaming at like the best, most brutal intensity, whereas it might make the singing a little bit tougher to do. That's okay. But the methods I learned from Ron have helped me a lot. And what I do, that is my morning stream. Essentially, the first 30 minutes is all. So let's say it's a tour warm up. Then I play scales with guitar and vocals. I'd line them up together, sit there with the metronome, and play scales. And it's all the first 30 minutes is head voice exercises. What head voice is what people think falsetto is. Stuff like all that stuff. It's 30 minutes of that stuff with me playing scales along with it. The next 20 minutes is me playing Trivium songs in head voice. Head voice is what people think is falsettos. The Bee Gees voice, the King Diamond voice, that's not technically falsetto. That's actually head voices. It resonates in your head. I do 20 minutes. That's 4 songs of Trivium sung like I'm in the Bee Gees. Did I only whisper blinded, like that, while playing guitar. The last 10 minutes is full voice Trivium, me singing and screaming full voice. All full voice is a fully warmed up head voice with the power of the chest voice behind it. I do 10 minutes of that, and then my voice is warm. So let's say it's the Full Sail night. I did that, had 30 minutes to chill, dress, get ready. 2 to 5 minutes for the show, I sing something high, make sure it's in place, and then go on stage and play. So that sounds exhausting. And like I said, some singers don't need to warm up. Some should warm up. Some are great live with nothing, and some are terrible live with nothing. But me, I know exactly what I need, and that's exactly what I need to do.
Hey, that's what's important. As long as you know exactly what works for you, that's what you got to keep doing. Absolutely, man. Matt, it's always genuinely such a pleasure to talk to you. I think you're doing some really, really exciting stuff in lockdown, and all the best to you and the family. And we really look forward to seeing you guys in the UK, whenever that may be, hopefully sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, Matt, thanks so much for chatting to us, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the UK, like I said, very special place to us. We weren't born there, but we were adopted by there. And I've been running with the new quote that we are Jon Snow of the UK. So
we'll take that. I like that. I want that on a t-shirt next time.
Yes,
that's what I want.
Yes, because we were banished and we had to come back, but we're rewriting season 8. That's what we're doing, rewriting it.
Even better, topping it all. Matt, good to see you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Take care.